If you look closely at the human bloodstream, you'll see a dense, crowded network. Millions of red blood cells, packed tightly alongside leukocytes and platelets, all dedicated to a single relentless task, delivering oxygen to the tissues. Inside every single red blood cell are hundreds of millions of hemoglobin A molecules. This tetramer is built from exactly 4 interlocking proteins, 2 alpha and 2 beta chains. Tucked deep within the hydrophobic pocket of each Globin chain is a porphyrin ring, and anchored exactly in its center is a single ferrous iron atom. Iron is uniquely suited to capture and release oxygen, but that same chemical reactivity makes it extremely dangerous. If iron floats free in human tissues, stripped of its protective porphyrin ring, it generates massive, lethal oxidative stress. Because of this toxicity, you might assume the body has a robust physiological way to flush excess iron out. It doesn't. Humans possess absolutely no active biological mechanism to excrete iron once it enters the body. Every milligram must be managed through a strict, closed-loop system. The body survives by tightly throttling how much iron is absorbed from the gut and precisely matching it to the cellular assembly of red blood cells. This means survival relies entirely on a perfect multi-organ supply chain connecting liver endocrinology directly to mitochondrial biochemistry. Decoding how this chain works is the only way to accurately diagnose complex anemias. The actual construction of hemoglobin begins in the bone marrow, specifically inside early erythroblasts. Inside the mitochondrial matrix, the enzyme ALAS merges glycine and sexanyl-CoA to form delta ALA. This rate-limiting step requires vitamin B6. Subsequent reactions build a protoporphyrin ring, and finally, ferrous iron is embedded into its center, completing the heme molecule. The completed heme moves into the cytoplasm. Here, the cell faces a logistical problem, synthesizing exactly enough globin protein chains to match the available heme. An internal sensor called HRI kinase sits in the cytoplasm, monitoring heme levels. If iron is deficient, heme drops. HRI immediately phosphorylates EIF2-alpha, blocking ribosomes and halting globin RNA translation. This shutdown prevents empty globin chains from clumping together and destroying the cell from the inside. When you look at an iron-deficient red blood cell under a microscope, it appears pale and unusually small. This is the direct result of the HRI checkpoint intentionally shutting down protein synthesis to survive the iron shortage. The iron supply chain connects the gut, bone marrow, and liver. The liver acts as master control. Its hepatocytes monitor transferrin saturation. When iron is high, liver cells secrete bone morphogenetic proteins, interacting with HFE to synthesize the hormone hepcidin. Hepcidin acts as the body's emergency brake on iron absorption. In the duodenum, hepcidin binds to a transmembrane export door called ferroportin, triggering its destruction. Dietary iron absorbs into the gut cell but remains trapped, safely lowering total body iron. The bone marrow can override this brake. During intense red cell production, erythroblasts secrete erythroferrone. This protein travels to the liver and suppresses hepcidin synthesis. Without hepcidin, new ferroportin doors are built on gut cells, forcing iron absorption back online. Human iron homeostasis is a constant physical negotiation. The liver strives to restrict absorption to prevent toxic overload, while the bone marrow demands constant raw materials to synthesize hemoglobin. When patients present with severe hematological symptoms, clinicians are looking for the exact node in this supply chain that failed. In sideroblastic anemia, patients have microcytic anemia, but paradoxically high iron stores. The breakdown occurs in the mitochondria. A defective ALAS enzyme or depleted vitamin B6 halts protoporphyrin production. Iron enters the erythroblast but accumulates uselessly in a ring around the nucleus. Next, imagine a patient presenting with bronze discoloration of the skin, new-onset diabetes, and liver failure. This is classic hereditary hemochromatosis. The cause is a C282Y mutation in the HFE gene. The liver becomes blind to iron overload and stops producing hepcidin. Consequently, gut ferroportin doors remain locked open, causing unrestrained toxic iron absorption into the tissues. Finally, consider the consequences of hemolysis, where red cells are prematurely destroyed. Patients present with severe anemia, accompanied by either intense jaundice or pitch-black urine. In extravascular destruction, large macrophages in the spleen safely consume the defective red cells, pulling them completely out of the circulation. They break the porphyrin down into unconjugated bilirubin, which directly causes the clinical presentation of jaundice. But if the destruction is intravascular, the red cells lyse directly inside the circulating bloodstream. This violent rupture releases massive amounts of free hemoglobin. The body attempts to bind it using plasma haptoglobin, but the sheer volume rapidly saturates that safety net. The excess free hemoglobin has only one place to go. It is filtered out by the renal glomerulus. This produces the dark urine, hemoglobinuria, and hemosideruria, proving that unfiltered blood proteins are spilling directly into the urinary tract. Whether a patient presents with iron-choked mitochondria, bronze skin, or black urine, the symptoms are mathematically dictated by which exact node in the supply chain has failed. Ultimately, red cell production comes down to a strict chemical equation. You need iron, a protoporphyrin ring, and globin chains. If any one of those three ingredients is missing, cellular assembly stops. We can organize this logic into a simple diagram, a three-part matrix to categorize any microcytic anemia based on the specific missing ingredient. In the first column, a lack of systemic iron causes iron deficiency anemia. You'll see this reflected in the lab results as low ferritin levels and a high transferrin count as the body searches for more iron. In the second column, an inability to build protoporphyrin results in sideroblastic anemia. Labs will show high ferritin and massive amounts of iron trapped inside the mitochondria. In the third column, an inability to synthesize sufficient globin chains causes the thalassemias. Iron metrics will often be perfectly normal, but genetic sequencing will reveal the exact mutation choking off protein production. Seeing a low mean corpuscular volume on a blood test is never a diagnosis by itself. It is simply a physical signal demanding that you find out which of these three specific components is missing. By integrating this matrix of biochemistry and systemic endocrinology, you no longer have to guess at a diagnosis. You can track the exact failure point in the supply chain and accurately decode the pathophysiology.